need to know this. Another day, another warning sign that climate change could soon spin rapidly out of control. According to a new study out of Lund University in Sweden, the melting of Arctic sea ice, which is now happening at an alarmingly fast rate, is increasing the release of methane into the atmosphere. Why is that such a big deal? Well, methane is one of the strongest of the natural greenhouse gases. It's about 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide, and while it may not get as much attention as its cousin CO2, it certainly can do as much, if not more, damage to our planet. In my recent documentary, Last Hours, we pointed out a massive release of methane could produce a sudden global warming event that could lead to an extinction of species on a wide scale, including humans. Right now, estimates suggest that there's 1,000 billion tons of carbon in methane form trapped just under the Arctic ice. If that carbon stays trapped under the ice, we might have a chance. But if it gets out, as it looks like it's starting to do, that probably means game over for the planet and the human race. The stakes really are that high when it comes to global warming, which is exactly why one group of 20 scientists wants the government to prosecute global warming deniers. Yep, that's right, prosecute global warming deniers. As these scientists explained in a letter to President Obama, groups that publish study after study, quote, debunking global warming, groups like the Heartland Institute and the Non-Governmental International Panel on Climate Change, they aren't really independent organizations. They're front groups for big oil. They're bankrolled by the very companies who get rich off our addiction to fossil fuels. And because of this, these scientists say they're ripe for a lawsuit under the RICO Act, the same act the government used to take on the tobacco industry's misinformation machine in the late 1990s and early 2000s. A RICO investigation, they write, played an important role in stopping the tobacco industry from continuing to deceive the American people about the dangers of smoking. If corporations in the fossil fuel industry and their supporters are guilty of the misdeeds that have been documented in books and journal articles, it is imperative that these misdeeds be stopped as soon as possible. In other words, global warming deniers aren't well-meaning skeptics. They're scam artists and criminals and should be treated as such by the law.
It is the way to recovery.
The cost of freedom is always high.
The restoration of American values.
That's what really gets them all worried.
We need a political revolution in this country.
Joining me for tonight's Progressive Roundtable are Stuart Acuff, veteran union organizer, Medea Benjamin, co-founder of Global Exchange and Code Pink, and Neil Sroka, communications director for Democracy for America. And in a different order, I think people can figure out who's who here.
Stuart. I'm Stuart. I'm Stuart.
No, I'm Stuart. Okay, considering the scale of global climate change, of the potential disaster, I mean, we already arguably, in fact, when I was talking with Martin O'Malley earlier today, he said Syria, most of the Syrian problem is climate change. And this is what started the whole thing. And so we've got millions of climate change refugees. We've got wars being caused by climate change. People are dying right now because of climate change. Let's prosecute the people who are saying there ain't no such thing as climate change.
And I think one really important thing about this argument is it is about responsibility and culpability and ensuring that the people that have allowed this farce to go on are held accountable. But it's also about ensuring that we have the resources to pay for the consequences. One of the things to remember is the RICO laws, which help prosecute tobacco companies, allowed for us to pay for the consequences of smoking and diminish the effect of smoking over the number of smokers over the last 30 years. So let's make, if these companies, and I believe they have, are engaging in these sorts of illegal practices, let's make sure they pay for the consequences of that, and we can have at least mitigate some of the consequences of global warming caused by their policies.
That's an excellent point.
Well, it's a good idea. I think it was billions and billions of dollars that was put into education. So maybe at the gas stations now we need them to put, warning this product is causing global warming.
Yeah. Well, at least stopping the denial. I mean,
my goddaughter in Philadelphia is an environmental organizer. And she confronted at a news conference yesterday a guy from the Heartland Institute, and she said this is as bad as Holocaust denial. And he said, so?
Wow. See, he doesn't, as long as he gets his paycheck, he doesn't care.
Nope,
right.
exactly. And it's not just oil. I mean, in Pennsylvania, we're having a real battle in Ohio, West Virginia, over fracking and natural gas. Very dangerous fuel. Kills people as we're getting it out of the ground, kills people in the system, and it contributes to global warming.
Right, which is killing people right now.
Right, exactly.
So we have 20 scientists now who've signed this letter. There's a lot of scientists out there. This is just the teeniest little. It's sort of like what's his name? Vince Bugliosi calling for the prosecution of George W. Bush for murder. I mean, there's this rational argument. There's a strong case that can be made, but it's politically radioactive.
Well, I think one of the first persons to mention it was Sheldon Whitehouse, a U.S. senator. I mean, so we do have champions in Congress who could press the administration to kind of pursue this. Yeah. And I think that we should. And I think part of this letter, I think it's a great way, a vehicle for encouraging members of Congress to step up. If you're serious, and listen, the Democrats from the White House on down have wanted to take on climate deniers politically. Well, if we're going to do that politically, let's also do it judicially so that we can ensure that we can mitigate some of the consequences of climate change.
Well, I have to say, I'm all for investigating and prosecuting these climate deniers. But we really need the scientific community to really step up and eliminate all doubt, and
they have,
and come out strong.
They have. They're, you know.
But as you say, there's 20 people who signed the letter. It's a big community.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing is, scientists traditionally are apolitical, and this is. I think this is kind of like where the business community was in 1971 when what's his name, who got in the Supreme Court, wrote Lewis Powell wrote his memo to his colleagues in the business community, and he said, we've been apolitical all these years, and it's time for us to get political because they're coming after us, and he was.
I think that this move is going to have a real impact, and I think I don't know if it was Gandhi or someone else who made this, like, first they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. I think we're in the laughing stage where some are going to laugh and think this is a silly way to deal with a very big problem, or a problem that they apparently don't think exists. Yeah. But I think we got to move past that.
I was just going to give a shout out because the media hasn't been covering this group of 12 people that's been doing a hunger strike outside the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, outside the FERC. And they're outside there every single day. People should stop by. Don't bring them food, but, go and say hello. But it's one of the many groups that are taking it to another level.
I have completely missed that. We should get one of those people on this program.
Yeah, that would be great.
Wow. And finally, I'm wondering if there might be, out of the tobacco RICO case, that started the process of tobacco class action lawsuits, which led to the tobacco companies paying billions and billions of dollars also. I wonder if that could be done against the companies that are funding these deniers, which in this case would be Koch Industries, ExxonMobil.
It's important to say, I think, Tom, that this is not a free speech issue. Yeah. This is companies making money off deceiving the public and off endangering the planet and the entire human race. Right. And just shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah.